always looking at the glass half empty rather than half full. That's sort of my MO. Like that's my baseline. I'm more easy. It's more easy. It's easier for me to slip into that place than it is to look at it half full.
See, man, I look at the glass and I say to myself, it's water and I'm thirsty. So I'm trying to drink it. I don't care if it's half empty, half full, I'm thirsty. And I need that. And when I say that, like, legitimately, I've been, like you said, in a place where negativity can take over and it'll mess you up. When I was in college, man, I was not practicing good self-care. And I say that in respect to, I'm a people pleaser. And I always wanted to make my father proud. And so when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to major in when I first got there. He said, do accounting. I hated accounting. And my second year, I'm like, I can't do this. You know, I took an internship. I understood what I was doing, and I hated it. I talked too much. And when you do accounting, you gotta sit there, you gotta play with that computer, you gotta be on that. I can't do that. I need to talk to somebody. And so I switched my major. And I'll never forget, I had this class, I don't remember what the class was. And we had a paper to do. And there was certain guidelines that you had to follow. When we got the paper back, the teacher was like, okay, so there was a guy who did not follow the guidelines on his paper, but he wrote it so well that he got a 100. And it was me. And I was super proud of that because I couldn't follow the guidelines. It didn't make sense to me. My brain didn't work that way. But he said that I wrote the paper so well that I got a 100. I called my dad immediately when I got out of class. Told him. And I was like, you know, I'm switching my major, but I'm doing my work. This is where I got a 100. My dad was like, listen, just don't fail. So what I did, I failed every single class I had. I started smoking weed a lot. I smoked weed before class, I smoked weed after class, I smoked weed when I woke up, I smoked weed before I went to sleep. That was my self-care. And I was destroying myself. And I didn't even realize it. Because I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know how to say, yo, I'm hurt. Because I didn't know I was allowed to be hurt as a man. I wasn't allowed to be hurt. So I'm not allowed to cry. I'm not allowed to experience this pain. And then you said it earlier. You got people that you can go to your boys and be like, yo, I need your perspective. I had boys, but I didn't even feel comfortable to be like, bro, I am hurt. I'm hurting right now. You know, and Will shared a post earlier, two baseball players, and one guy, you know, is holding another guy, and he's just rubbing his head. And the commentary, the announcers are laughing like, oh, look at this massage. Oh, and Will brought up a good point. He's like, man, when you first look at it, he's like, yo, why is he holding and rubbing his head? And then he's like, yo, real talk, like, if this dude is broken, whether it's over a game, who knows what it is, like, why can't we as men be there to console one another? Like, we're so screwed up in society that we're broken. We're lacking self-care, self-love, and we can't even get it from our closest friends because they're guys, and I can't go to him and say I'm broken. So I don't even know how to love myself, and I can't even ask another man how he loves himself so that I can start to learn. And
You can, you just choose not
we
to.
choose not to do it because it feels wrong. It feels weird. But it was such a great point and perspective that I appreciate you posting. I even saw you comment on it. And in the comment, you even said, bro, I love you. And he was like, I love you too. And it's like, we got to get to this point where, you know, we're starting to do better where we can say to your friends, I love you. But we still don't say it to ourselves. We still don't say it to ourselves. I love you, Mac. I love you. You know, and it not feel weird. Like, I say it to myself because I need to hear it. Man, I love you. I love you for all your flaws. I love you for all the good that you do. I love you for the fact that you are weird as I don't know what, but that's who I am. And I had to learn to love myself. And when I learned to love myself, I started walking in a different way, and people looked at me different. And then I really started to feel love from other people in a way I've never experienced it before. People liked me before, but I really wanted them to like me. So I was like, yo, I gotta be this person that I'm really not. But then when I was like, yo, I love you. You're weird, man. You watch cartoons, you 36 years old, and you stay on them cartoons. Point. Hey, but you know, it is what it is. I love you. I love you.
Yeah.
And then people like, yo, you like cartoons? Man, I love cartoons. And then little kids like me too. Now all the little kids talk to me about Naruto and all that. And then parents are like, man, do you want to be my kid's big brother? You know, and they appreciate me for what I bring to the table. But I had to love myself first. And I had to say it. And I showed myself love in different ways. But I personally had to tell myself, I love you. And it made a world of difference for me. And hopefully, you know, somebody else out there, you know, the reason that we're doing this, the reason that we're talking, the reason that we're discussing self-love is, there might be a guy out there who's like me, who's like, man, I'm weird. I don't want anybody to know it. I can't accept myself. But then when you say, man, I love you, it makes a world of difference.
Well, self-acceptance is a huge part of that, though, right? Like, and so we hear when we talk about mental health, we hear a lot. We hear the word stigma attached to it. I mean, that was part of the reason I said something about the therapist, because there's a lot of stigma associated with going and seeing a therapist. I think that seeing a therapist should be just part of our regular routine.
Yes.
I think that we should go and see therapists on a regular basis, even if we're doing okay. Like going to a doctor to get a checkup.
Go to the bar shop.
Going to the barbershop to get a haircut. I don't know if I'm gonna do it that often, but
You gotta drop them prices.
yeah, the prices. Well, yeah, healthcare can be another conversation.
Yeah.
So, but self-acceptance is something that you have to work towards, right? Like that's something. And so when you say I'm weird, who gets to define weird? Right, but most of the time we define weird by what other people in society have
Defined
deemed
as a
as
norm.
weird.
Yeah.
Right. So you're
It's
weird
against
if
the
you like
norm.
this, but you're not. So that's part of the problem, in my opinion, is that if I'm weird because I like X, Y, and Z, that society has deemed that to be weird, then I have a harder time accepting myself if I buy into that.
Right.
So we need people of, I think it's really good to have people of like minds. Like when you're able to find friendship, when you're able to find people that you really bond with, to then go on in, like say, hey man, like, you know, like not just have a relationship and be like, all right, let's talk about superficial nonsense. Like talk about real stuff and be able to express yourself. I tell my friends I love them all the time. I give them hugs. I think it's important because there's so much stupid nonsense stigma around it about affection, male affection, or you know, talking about how much you care about each other. Even now, like it's like, all right, so how far? Like I get uncomfortable. Like how far should I take this?
Yeah.
Before somebody turns it off and be like, oh, he on some gay shit.
Yeah.
Like, as if there's something wrong with that. Like
Even that, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because
like-
that's society saying there's something wrong with that. And I was thinking about that when I was saying I'm weird, but then you were also saying like what society deems as, it's like, you know, homosexuality is different from what we may do, but it doesn't make them less of a person. It doesn't make them less worthy of love. And I tell you the truth, it's hard for them to accept themselves many times because they don't want people to look at them in a certain way. Transgenders as well, it's like, man, if we could just look at somebody and be like, yo, you're a human being? man, I love you.
Yeah, but it's the us and them, the them. Like we're humans.
Yeah.
Because once you start compartmentalizing and you start going us and them, like okay, so them, it's hard for them. Then it's easier to go, yeah, well, us and them. Like I'm white, you're black. Like we're sectioning off it, we're separating. Well, instead, like we're human race, we're the human race.
We're human.
Let's accept each other for who we are,
Love each other.
regardless of our differences, and go from there. Like, it doesn't matter. We don't all have to be best friends either.
No, we don't. We don't. We're not going to agree on everything, and I think it's healthy not to agree on certain things. David Banner, man, he rapper and activist, and one of the dopest things I ever heard him say was, he's a walking contradiction. And he said, I'm a walking contradiction. He said, you know why? Because every day I learn. Every day I'm educating myself. And so there's something that I learned yesterday that's going to be different from today. And when I learn that thing, I have to be responsible and say, you know what? I was wrong. So I'm going to go here. People say, oh, you contradict yourself. Yeah, because you know what? I learned something new. I learned something new. And I think it's important for us to be able to admit, yo, I was wrong. You know, I was wrong for separating and dividing us versus them, where it's just supposed to be us. You know, and the thing about it is, once we start accepting ourselves and accepting other people, then the love comes. The love comes simply because you don't have anything to make you feel less of a human.
I get that, and I mean, I think the thing that kind of that stood out to me in the dialogue between you two just now was the us and them. I think it's okay to be a us and them. I think it's okay to be us and them because like we all have different cultural experiences, we all have different lifestyle experiences, we all want them differently. I can't relate to the guy who grew up, you know what I'm saying, with his dad being a multi-millionaire, you know what I'm saying, with a $250,000 trust fund when he turned 18 and have opportunities and stuff that I don't have. But what I can do, I can build a bridge between him and I so that we can begin to understand one another and appreciate one another. That's saying that we're different, just because we're different, we don't have to be divided. We can be different and accepted. I think even in marriage, right? My wife and I, we have two completely different ways we were raised, right? And early in our marriage, that really took a toll on our marriage. But we're coming to a place where we're realizing, like, listen, we don't have to be the same. We don't have to have the same views. Because a lot of what we were doing was trying to get the other person to buy into our view instead of accepting them for their view and finding middle ground, right? And I think in life and relationship, it's just that. It's respecting and accepting someone else's views as theirs and their lifestyle as theirs, and finding middle ground where if that's a person that you're drawn to, that's a person that you're drawn to do life with, even if it's a season or for a lifetime, you can be able to draw near that person and be able to do life with that person from a non-judgmental and accepting place where you're not me, you don't look like me, you don't talk like me, you don't walk like me, but I consider you family. You know?
Yeah, I kind of, and it wasn't a cringe, but it was like, it's always going to be a us and there's always going to be a them or a they, because we just, like you said, we all have these different experiences. But I think what's most important, personally, is to be able to appreciate them, be able to appreciate the they.
Because we're them to them.
Yeah, because and at the end of it all, if we don't, the problem with saying them is if you think you're automatically better than them. So the problem with me saying, man, those homosexuals or something, is when I stand as a heterosexual and think that heterosexuality is better than homosexuality, or heterosexuality is normal and homosexuality is weird, that's where the them and the us becomes an issue for me. Because homosexuals are them. But as long as I don't feel like I'm better than them because I'm hetero, there is respect and there is admiration there. I don't have that desire that you have. So that makes you different than me. But I appreciate that you are, one, I should be able to appreciate that you had the balls to come out in this world. Because people will kill you for this stuff. Or you will kill yourself because of what people think.
And that's where, you know, the self-love, and I think that's what's really on my mind when we discuss it, because people are killing themselves, man. And they're not necessarily killing themselves because they're slitting their wrists or taking pills. They're drinking and they're doing drugs, they're self-medicating, and there's a way to cope.
Yeah. And this is not, in no way is this a way in promoting abusing anything, right? But I think, depending on, we're talking about weed, or we're talking about wine, we're talking about alcohol, right? These things can be done in moderation and with respect to self, where you're not abusing it, right? That's also an awareness of self. If you have a history of this, or your family has a history of it, of abusing, something like that, then it's more likely that can be passed down, and that's something you might want to stay away from. But if you're doing these things, if you can, which a lot of people can't, but if you are one of those people who can do these things in moderation, or do that, then that's your business. I don't knock all of that because I understand. I've been there. But I do realize that there is a lot of abuse in these things, and there's a lot of glorification, especially in black culture, hip hop culture. I know in all cultures, honestly, in any culture, rock and roll, all of that, they glorify, the lifestyles glorify partying and getting high, all these different things. When a lot of times it's someone who's, like you said, is crying out for help. It's crying for help, or is just not aware enough of themselves and the work that they have in themselves to treat themselves better, and to not poison themselves to these extremes where they're 30, 40 years old, you know what I'm saying, completely destroying their bodies. So I think it's important to point out that everyone have their own ways of coping, right? And that's another way we have to accept that. But it becomes our responsibility, especially if it's a brother of mine, to hold them accountable in that, to be aware enough, and for them to be aware enough that, hey, listen, this is becoming a thing that I'm actually depending on, because of dependency, and that's when it becomes an issue, and that's something that should be looked at and be dealt with.
Drug abuse is real. There's, you know, you go with, people always talk about, you go to France, you know, people drink wine all day. They're not getting drunk, but they're drinking wine. So it's not alcohol that's the problem. It's the reason you're drinking the alcohol. You know, we call happy hour because people always feel depressed, I guess, and they got to get all these drinks up in them to feel happy. Self-medicating, self-coping. And if you go to happy hour, you have 2-3 drinks, whatever. I mean, whatever your limit is, if you're doing it because you just enjoy being a social drinker, cool. But what I'm really talking about, what we're really discussing is when people are just like, I can't handle life. So I'm hitting this bottle to take me away.
I need to escape.
I need that escape. And so that's really where it's like, I appreciate you being open and being like, yo, therapy. You know, I got a master's in social work, so I believe in therapy, you know, counseling. But it's hard to have people truly understand. It's not necessarily going to a therapist if you can find that brother or that friend who can just sit and listen. And you can pour out to them. Now, it's important that you do, if things are really bad and detrimental in your life, that you do seek professional counseling. I think that's really important. But if you're just broken because you lost somebody in your life, your grandmother passed, she might have been 90. but it still hurts. You know, it's important that if you're like, yo, I'm hurting, you know, can I talk to you? Like, you need that outlet, and instead of, you know, homeboys in the hood pouring out liquor, you know, and then they drinking the rest of it, instead of being like, bro, we hurting and embracing each other. You know, and that embrace, touch is important. Touch is, you said it earlier, touch is important. Babies, when they're young, will die without touch. Like, they'll die without touch. They need that embrace, they need that mother's touch to sustain life. And so,
Or for it to grow correctly.
and to grow to correctly. But if we're adults, we're still growing as people. So that embrace is still important. It's still, you know, we need to be able to embrace each other and be like, bro, I'm broken.
And we don't do it. That's why
And
we have
don't
grown
do
incorrectly.
I think it's both. I think to what you're saying, I think both is actually needed in our lives. In our lives, I think both is needed, right?
Both what?
Both that brother relationship where you can have somebody to talk to and vent to, but also that professional relationship where you can vent to and talk to. Because like I have a cavity in my mouth right now, and Will's be like, yo, when I had a cavity, yo, you know what I'm saying, I put my Orajel in there, that's gonna help me a couple of days. And it might be temporary, it's something, but if I need to get to the root of that, and I look at it like that, like I need a root canal, Will can't perform a root canal on me. But I can go to a professional who's trained in that, who can perform that root canal. And I think as we get to, we're talking about those serious things, like to somebody, losing a homeboy might be, okay, that hurt. But somebody else who almost lost their wife, that can be traumatic, right? So it's levels of trauma. And I think in dealing with trauma, it's important that you have professional relationships where you can once a month, or as much as your finances allow you to, without like, you know what I'm saying, breaking you, to go and talk to someone for an hour or two and get some stuff off your chest and help, and let that person from an outside view step back, take like a 30,000 view look down into what's going on and help you navigate, and let you know like, man, you know what I'm saying, give you some professional, you know, to help in those, in the advice and all of that. Because I can honestly say, like, if it wasn't for me seeing a counselor, like I've been seeing a counselor for almost 2 years. You know what I'm saying? I started off seeing myself, then my wife and I, we joined, I was seeing the counselor together. If it wasn't for that, my marriage would have been gone. Like, I would not be the man that I feel like I'm becoming, that I have become to this point in my life. A lot of things would be different for me, bro, if it wasn't for that professional relationship. And I had dope brothers like Will, like some other guys that I know that were around me. But having that counselor there was almost like we were saying earlier. It's like I realized how much this relationship is needed, like in society, in our lives. We're not taught that. We don't like. It's a stigma to that. It's a oh, you must be going through something. Like you fucked up.
You
like
crazy.
it's like one of those things. It's like it's one of those things. And it's like it's not really that, bro. It's like we need that as much as I feel like we need that daily checkup with the doctors. That